Alright, let's finish the video here. We got number 13 is on the transformation. So we're going to start on test A, it's number 13. Okay, test B, it's number 4. Test C, it's number 4. And test D, it's number 15. First thing they want you to do is a translation. And I want you to translate it over -1 and up 3. So over -1 from the letter A, and you go up 3. That's going to put you at the point -6,4. -6,4, that's if you have an A or a C test. A B or a D test, they wanted you to do -2, 4. So you went over 2 and up 4. It's going to put you up here at -7, 5. So that would be at -7, 5. That would be a B or a D test. All right, a reflection over the y-axis just means that you're going to fold it on this line right here. So this A would be the one going on this side, and it would be the point 5,1. That's going to be the same on both tests, 5,1. Now, rotation counterclockwise was A and C. Clockwise was B and D. So let me show you both of them. Let me rotate this around so you can see it. Take this, and we're going to go, first I'll go counterclockwise. So that means I'm going to go backwards 3 rotations. 1, 2, 3 rotations. That's 270 degrees. There, my point becomes a +1 and a +5. So +1 and +5 would be for my A and my C test. Now, if I rotate it counterclockwise, no, that was counterclockwise. So if I go clockwise 3 rotations, 1, 2, 3 rotations would be right here. Now you look at A's way down here at the bottom. It's -1, -5. So B and D would be -1, -5. You're just rotating and turning your paper is all you're doing. Just turn the paper when you rotate. Now it says a glide reflection means glide over 2 to the left, glide 2 to the left, and then reflect it on the x-axis. So go 2 to the left, and then reflect it down to here on the x. So you fold it on this line right here. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 negative and -1. -7, -1. If you do the same thing on test B and D, you get -8, -1, because it's going to be 3 units to the left. This right here is a reflection on the x-axis. And then this tells you what to do after that for the up and down. That's an up and down movement. That's going to be an up 2 units. So the first thing we want to do is reflect it on the x-axis, which brings it down to here. We fold it on the x-axis, it brings it down to here. And then it says y plus 2 means go up 2. So from that point, you'll go up 2, and you'll be right back where you started. So you're going to be right back at the point -5,1. That's on test A and C. -5,2 was test B and D, because it actually said to go y plus 3. So that was going to be -5,2. Let's look at 14. Now 14 is going to be number 15 if you have test C, 17 if you have test D, and 14 if you have test A or B. So C is 15 and D is 17. What you wanted to do on this one was draw in your figure and then find the perimeter. So across here we 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. And then you would use your Pythagorean theorem to find the length of these other sides. So this one would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, 2, 3. This would be 8 and 3, so you would do 8 squared plus 3 squared equals c squared. And that's how you find your length of all three of these other sides. So let me give you your answers to that problem. If you had a B or a D test, then your answer was 34.95, or you could have rounded it to 35. If you had an A or a C test, that one was 36. When you round it off, you get 36. All right, moving on to number 15. 15, I'm not going to do a whole lot on the constructions, I just will tell you what the right answers were. What you should have done on the constructions, test C was number 1, and test D was 18, and test B was 15. So you needed to draw in your three sides of the triangle, and then you would make your fish. You would connect the fish, and they would meet, and you would measure that to all three, and that should have been the same measurement, right, for this one right here. Then you would do the arc with the X, and you would do your angle bisectors, and wherever they met, you would measure that to point A, and that would give you your answers to those. Okay, so for test A, put it over here, A, your answer was, let's see, 3.9 centimeters. For test B, your answer was 3.6 centimeters. For test C, your answer was 3.6 centimeters. And for test B, your answer was 4.2 centimeters. Letter C, your A answer was 3.3 centimeters. Your test B, your answer was 2.5 centimeters. Test C, your answer was 2.5. And for test D, your answer was 3.85 or 3.9 centimeters. That was for construction on the light box. All right, moving on to 16. 16 was number 12 on test C. It was number 20 on test D. A and B, it was number 16. So Lindsay's flying a kite, 270-foot length of string, and her little brother is 70 feet away. So they want to know is what this angle is right there. So you're just going to do the inverse cosine of adjacent 70 over hypotenuse 270. Inverse cosine will give you that angle. And that angle was 75 degrees if you're on test A or C. And it was 74 degrees if you're test B or D. How high is the kite was the Pythagorean theorem. 70 squared plus x squared equals 270 squared. If you had a different test and you had two different numbers, plug in your numbers. And you should end up with test A or C was 260.8. And test B and D, 278.7. Now, a lot of you guys had a hard time with C because you kept thinking this bottom number was still there, and it's not. Because the kite is now coming down. It was 75 degrees, now it's coming to 65 degrees. So since the angle is getting less, this part is going to get longer. We don't even know that part anymore. What we do know is a 65-degree angle and a 270-foot string. That's what we do know. So we want to solve for x. We don't use this bottom. we're going to do the sine of 65, because we're going to do opposite side over hypotenuse. So it equals x over 270 multiplied by 270. Now, if you had different numbers, you had a different angle and a different number, then you would put in your numbers instead. So for test A and C, your answer was 244.7. For test B and D, your answer was 256.1. 256.1. Okay, 17 is number 5 on test C. So C it's number 5, and D it's number 4. And it's number 17 on A and B. Marty is 6 feet tall. His shadow is 3.2. 6 feet, 3.2 feet. And the shadow of a tree is 10 feet long. And they want to know the height of the tree. So you could set up a proportion many different ways. 6 over x, 3.2 over 10 would work. And I know if you had test B or D, it was a little bit of a different problem. No. Yeah, the numbers were a little different. So for test B or D, you're going to actually have 6 and 4.5. 6 over x equals 4.5 over 15. So that would be for B and D. Your answers are 20 feet here. And for A and C, your answers were 18.75. 18.75 feet for A and C, and B and D was 20 feet. A gate measures 4 by 8 or 5 by 8, depending on what test you have. And this one is right below it, so it's going to be number 6 on test C, and it's going to be number 5 on test B. And it's going to be 18 on A and B. And you have a gate. You've got 4 by 8, and they want to know what's the length of x here. So that should have been easy. 4 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. You're going to solve that one, and you're going to get 9.4 feet if you had a B or D version. That would be the 5 squared plus 8 squared equals 9.4 squared. If you had the A or C version, it was 8.9 feet. This answer was 8.9 feet. So 8.9 was this length right here. That was with your A or your C version. B or D version, it was 9.4 feet. And the last thing it asks for on letter B is what is the measure of this angle right here, that angle. So you've got a 4. Right here, you've got an 8. Right here, you've got an adjacent, and you've got an opposite over adjacent, so it's going to be inverse tan of 8 over 4. Or it's going to be inverse tan of 8 over 5. Either way, you're going to plug those into your calculator. For test A, you're going to get 63.4 degrees. And for test B, 58 degrees. Those are your two answers for number 18. All right, moving to number 19. 19 is number 20 on test B, number 20 on test C, and it's number 13 on test D. It's the fire problem. Numbers were switched from our study guide. If this is 53 degrees right here, then this is also 53 degrees because these are alternate interior angles. Here's your two parallel lines. You got a north line here, you got a north line there. This is your transversal line right here. So those are alternate interior. So this angle right here is 125 degrees. This whole angle. They want to know the x down here and the y over here. And we know this angle is going to be 22 degrees because if you subtract those two, you get 22. 22 and 53 together make your 75. Now in the other picture, it was a little bit different numbers. This angle down here was 18 degrees. And this angle was 60 degrees. And this angle was 132 degrees. So if you had B or D, that was your other, those were your other angles. So look at the test that you have and see what numbers you have. This is the A and the C test right here. And you're just going to use your law of sines again. We've got, what two do we have? Let's see. We can find this angle. We've got 125 plus 22. 125 plus 22 is 147. You subtract that from 180. You're going to get 33 degrees down here. This is 33 degrees. So sine of 33 over 33 equals the sine of 125 over x. That's going to give you the pi knob amount. And the pi knob amount was 49.6 on A and C. And it was the 43.6 on B and D. And the pi knob was actually the bottom number on that test. To get the letter Y, the Colt station, I would use the same first fraction. Sine of 33 over 33 equals, and I would use my 22, sine of 22 over the Y value. Sine of 22 over Y. And you just do your cross multiplying and get your answer, get Y by itself. You're going to get 22.7 for A and C version, and 16.4 for your B and D version. So those would be your answers there. That was 19 on A's test. Okay, moving to 20. Number 20 was number 13 on test B. And on test C it was number 7. Test D was number 3. And I already drew the picture for you. B and E being parallel to C and D makes two similar triangles. We got a small one and a big one. They can't be congruent. They have to be similar. And the reason we have that is because of the AA postulate, because you've got this angle congruent to this angle because of the parallel lines. You've got this angle congruent to that angle because of parallel lines. So it has to be AA postulate. And then the last part is this distance across the gorge. Most of you missed this answer. You've got your small triangle X over your over your bottom small triangle 15. So let's say that would be the bottom over the side equals the bottom, which is this whole bottom, X plus 24. That's what you guys always forget to do. You forget to add those two together, over the whole back side, 36. And then you cross multiply, and you are going to get, let's see, for your A and your C versions, you're going to get 17.1 paces. For your B and your D versions, you're going to get 26.2. Because their numbers were different. Letter B, your numbers were 18, 32, and 40. 18, 32, and 40. So you had to do x over 18 equals x plus 32 over 40. That would have got you the 26.2 answer. So it just depended on the test you had and what numbers you had in your problem. So those were your two answers, either 17.1 or 26.2. All right, moving on. Number 21, a conference room office building measures 18 by 24 feet. Now in this problem, it's C and D number 8. So you have a C or a D test, it's number 8, and if you have a B test, it's 21 also. And it's 18 by 24. 18 by 24, which is going to give you, let's see, 18 times 24, that's going to give you 432 square feet of area. Another rectangular conference room has the same area, but a width of 16. 16 by something is still going to give us 432. So I'm going to take 432 and divide it by 16. That's going to give me, let's see, 2, that's 32, 112, that's going to be 7, so 112, we get 0. So that's going to be 27 feet for that one. If you were doing test, all the tests had the same answer. So those were all the same answer, all 27. Okay, 22 was C number 9, D number 9, and B number 22. And the deck is 4 feet wide, and looks like yours was 6 feet. Okay, so 4 feet. Okay, 15 by 20. You got 15, you got 20, and then you got a deck that goes around it that has all fours. So that means this right here is 20 plus 4 plus 4, it's 28. This right here is 15 plus 4 plus 4, that has to be 23. So you're going to do 23 times 28 to get an answer. You will do 20 times 15 and get an answer, and you'll subtract those two to get your deck. It's the whole amount minus the pool. That will give you the deck. Now, your answers are as follows. On test A, it was 344. And C, I believe. And test B, it was 612. Because on test B and D you had 36 and you had 27 for this whole amount here. And your pool was 15 by 24. 15 by 24. Oh, it was a 6, and it was a 6 inches on the side. So you either had a 6 or a 4. So those are your numbers. And your A and C test should be 344. Your B and your D test should be 612. All right, 23 is C number 10. It is D number 12. And it's B number 23. And all you're trying to do is find the area of this shape. So we need to find the rectangle, and we need to add it to a half a circle. So the rectangle is 48 times 60. And the half a circle is going to be pi times r squared divided by 2, which is going to be pi times 24 squared divided by 2. And I want to add the two answers together. Okay, you might have had a 36 and a 48 for your two numbers. So if that was the case, then you're going to do 36 times 48, and you're going to add to it pi times 18 squared divided by 2, which is half of the circle. So let's get the two answers. Now we have 48 times 60, that's 2880, plus, and I believe this is the A and the C test, and then we have a pi times 24 squared, so 24 squared, and we'll times that by pi, and divide it by 2. It gives you 904.8. Then you're going to add that to 2880. You get 3784.8. That would be your answer to A and C version. B and D was 36 times 48, was 1728, plus 18 squared times pi, and then divided by 2, 508.9. We're going to add that to 1728. You get 2236.9. That's for your B and your D version. That was 23. That was the last one on the test. I did give you a bonus. The bonus was the same, and it was the bonus at the end of all the tests. And all you had to do was use your area formula for a trapezoid. Base plus base times height divided by 2. Now, they gave you the two bases here, so it's going to be 8 plus 12. What they didn't give you was the height, but they're giving you a 45, 45, 90, so these are both x. So you're going to take 6, cut it in half, and then put a radical 2 next to it. It's going to be your height. That's because you're basically dividing by radical 2, and you get that answer right there. So you're going to put 3 radical 2, and then divide it by 2. And I believe all of them were the same on that, but I should double check. Oh no, it wasn't. There was a different one. B and D, this was an 8 centimeters. So this would have been 4 radical 2. So this could have been a 4 radical 2 here. So your A and your C version, your A and C version was 42.4. That's if you had the 6 and 3 radical 2. And it was a 79.2 if you had the 4 radical 2. If you had that number. And it was 4 radical 2. Alright, there you go, guys.